Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to the 13th edition of Apeejay Kolkata Literary Festival. In our session today, Celebrity Dads, Bollywood, and more, we have with us not just two very popular faces from Bollywood, but also two super dads, Jugal Hansraj and Tusshar Kapoor. Jugal Hansraj is an Indian actor, director, and screenwriter. Jugal turned as a director and directed films like Roadside Romeo and Pyar Impossible. This actor turned director, his latest book, The Coward and the Sword, is here with us, and we're discussing this today in our session. Tusshar Kapoor is the son of veteran actor Jitendra. He's the director and founder of his production house, Tusshar Production House. He's also the co-owner of Balaji Motion Pictures and Balaji Telefilms. Tusshar Kapoor has written his first book, Bachelor Dad, after he became a single father to son Lakshya. In conversation with Jugal and Tusshar, we have Nandini Sengupta. Nandini has written some of the most best-selling books, and her book credits include the best-selling Blue Horse and Other Amazing Animals, which was also on the long list for the Oxford Bookstore Book Cover Prize. And it was also shortlisted for Author Awards 2021 in Children's Fiction category. We are thrilled to host this session. The audience may type their questions in the comment section for the panelists to answer. Over to Nandini now.
Hello, welcome everybody, friends. I am so happy to be able to host this. A big thank you to Apeejay Kolkata Literary Festival for this wonderful platform. Today, I have with me two lovely writers and fathers, and hopefully over the next 40 odd minutes, we are going to be able to talk not only about their books, but also about their journey as authors. A quick description of the kinds of books that we are talking about over here. As a writer of children's fiction myself, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Jugal Hansraj, his lovely book. It's a fairy tale with a message. The Coward and the Sword is the book that he's going to talk about today. And we are going to ask him about a little bit about his journey and how the whole story came together in his head before it made its appearance in the book. We also have with us Tusshar Kapoor. Tusshar has written a deeply, deeply personal book about his journey as a single dad to his baby son, Lakshya. And again, it is a very beautiful book because it is intensely personal and offers other single parents some insights on how to go about, go about this whole crazy but ultimately fulfilling journey of being a parent. I'm going to start off with Jugal. I wanted to ask you, Jugal, I read your book, I loved it. And I want to ask you that as a children's fiction writer, how much of what went into your book came from, inputs from your child? Because, when I was writing The Blue Horse, my daughter, who's 14, she is my beta reader. So she would actually tell me, this doesn't work. This is too grown up. This is lame. We don't use words like this and so on. So she was sometimes quite brutal as well. So I would like to ask you what kind of inputs you took from your child, from your son.
Thanks, Nandini. Firstly, thank you to Apeejay Kolkata Literary Festival and the Oxford Bookstore for having us here. Lovely to talk to you, and always lovely to meet Tusshar. It's been many, many years since I've met him, and it's such a pleasure to see him. He looks the same. And also, I'm looking forward to reading his book, which, as you said, is a very personal journey about fatherhood. And I hope to pick up some tips on fatherhood myself, because it's a learning process. So anyway, Nandini, to come to what you were talking about and asking me, the thing is, when I started writing this book, my son had just been born. It was that period when I had taken some time off, and I was just by myself, trying to help my wife and, just come to terms with this beautiful feeling of fatherhood. So, as far as inputs from my son, it was like he was just a newborn. But what I can say is definitely that my son was the inspiration for me to write this book. I just wanted to leave something for him that when he's a bit older, maybe he can be proud of his father, and maybe I can leave a nice message not only to him but to all the young readers out there, something positive. Because every time we look turn on the TV or look around us, there's a lot of stuff, strife, and there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff going on in the world which is not very pleasant. So I thought maybe this is one small little spark of positivity somewhere, for not only for him but for all the young readers. But yeah, I mean, I did try and keep in mind the young readers and the young people I know, and what might, as you said, about the language and what might resonate with them. So it was basically not my son, but the kids around me that I tried to keep in mind while writing.
Tushar, I'm going to bring you in at this point. Again, like I was telling you, as an adoptive parent, I had many years ago, about 10 years ago, I had written a book about my journey as an adoptive parent. And one of the things that was the basis of that book was the message that families come in all shapes and sizes. Bit like, you see those Benetton ads with Benetton babies, different types of babies. So babies can be different types, right? They can be, green-eyed, brown-eyed, black-eyed. They can have curly hair, straight hair. They can be biological babies. They can be surrogate babies. They can be adoptive babies. They can be all sorts of babies. So that was the message. And when I was reading your book, that is the message I also got, that you were at some point trying to show that that families can be different. There can be different types of families. How did you come to the conclusion that you needed to document, to write about this very personal journey?
Firstly, thank you, APJ, Kolkata Lit Fest, and Oxford Bookstore for having us here. Hi, Jugal, once again. Well, I am graying as far as my hair is concerned, and I also have glasses. It's just that I haven't worn them right now. So, I don't look the same, but thank you for the compliment. Otherwise, yes, of course, the fact that he spoke about this book about different kinds of families, I do read that to my son. In fact, now he reads on his own. He's going to be 6. So yes, that book really, it's a tell-all, about the fact that there are all kinds of families, and it's about families where there are long-distance relationships between parents. It's about families where you could have lost a spouse, where you can have adopted a child, and many more examples. So I do read that to him, not to really drill it into him in some way or the other, but just to make him aware that we are all normal the way we are as families. It's just that one has to feel normal, feel like a sense of belonging, and feel genuine, unconditional love, and that's what makes a real family, a true family, not what the outward appearances are like. So yeah, the book is not going to preach anything or teach anything. Hasn't been my intention to write this book. In fact, I don't know myself when I really made up my mind to write this book, because friends used to observe my parenting style, and they used to suggest this to me, saying that you have so much to write about, talk about, because you're doing so much yourself. And I never really bothered much with it until at some point in 2019, I just felt like, okay, maybe this is the right time. I should think over it. And then mystically, I got an offer from Penguin Publishing Company, and then things just fell into place after that. So then the lockdown happened, and of course, it took a while for me to sign the contract. But because of the lockdown, because of the pandemic, I had so much more to write about. So I was thinking about 8 chapters, and now I have 10 chapters. And the last 2 chapters are devoted to life in the lockdown. Yeah. So all's well that ends well. I hope people enjoy the book, and all of you guys too.
So, I'm going to come back to Jugal a little bit here. In some way, every book that you write is also a bit of your personal story. Like Neeta was talking about the Blue Horse, which is very close to my heart because I'm an animal lover. And, much of the stories that are there, the background to that are the goofy, lovely, crazy, dogs who have been a part of my life. So when you were writing something which is allegorical, which is set in a fairy tale world, but has strong resonances with the real world, how much of your experiences went into that book?
Yeah, so I think what we are today as individuals is a result of our influences around us, what we have grown up with, the people we have had around us, and also the books we read. And so for me, a very big influence, of course, apart from the inspiration of being a new father, was I've been practicing Buddhism for many years and Nichiren Buddhism for many years and studying it. And that has kind of shaped my thinking a lot. So a lot of the book has been, in fact, the starting point for this book was a quote which I read by Nichiren Daishonin, who was a 13th century Buddhist Japanese reformer, which is, "A sword is useless in the hands of a coward." Mm-hmm. And that one line, I'd read it many times, but maybe fatherhood kind of changed me, and it kind of spoke to me in another way, where it taught me something very deep, that, everything, all the solutions are within us. We don't have to look outside. And that kind of sparked off a whole idea for me. And besides that, I'm a big fan of this fantasy fiction genre, like books by J.R.R. Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, and C.S. Lewis, and J.K. Rowling, and all this. So I love that genre. So I naturally veered towards that kind of setting to say my piece. And a lot of my other influences are from the writings of Daisaku Ikeda, who is a strong advocate against war. And that has come out in my book. The whole premise of the book is like that war is a disastrous thing for mankind and humankind. So all these influences came into the book, besides, of course, wanting to leave a positive message and also entertain the young readers. I didn't want to preach. I wanted to tell a good story, so that they can enjoy themselves, like how I do when I read these books, but also somewhere, pass on my influences to them. So I think these were my main influences for writing this book. And I'm just glad it got completed and I could kind of have it out there.
Tusshar, I'm going to come back to you a little bit. When you were writing the book, I noticed that there are some very cute pictures of Lakshya as well that you've included. When you were writing this book, at any point did you feel that this is also something that my child will grow up and read? I see that with my daughter now. The book that I have written about adoption, although it's not as personal, honestly, as your book, but she reads it and she's like, oh, okay, this is what you were feeling. There are points when you feel overwhelmed, when you are wondering whether you're doing a good job as a parent, when you're feeling whether you're doing the right thing as a parent. And there are so many doubts. I mean, there is no parenting school. You can't go to a school. You can't get a degree and say, okay, now I know. Now I know what to do. So when you were writing this, at some point, did you also feel that Lakshya is going to grow up? He's going to read that book, and he's going to somehow be part of that journey when he was too small. But all the things that you were going through.
Firstly, I'm also a practitioner of Nichiren Buddhism. In fact, since 2015, and I've written about it in the book also at a number of points. And in fact, I'm a DC, and I shared my experience today, an experience of having completed this book because of the practice, because of the 3 pillars of faith, practice, and study that are part of the Buddhist practice. And that really helped me write this book on my own without any co-author as for my first book. So that's a very pleasant coincidence, a pleasant surprise. And that's great, Jugal. And we can catch up on that later because we are kind of thick into this practice. So good for us. Otherwise, coming back to your question, Nandini, yes, I hope one day my son expresses his desire to read this book, and I'll be more than open to having him read it. But I think there's still so much more time for that. And the other part of your question is about parenting style and the whole aspect of, the trial and error thing, that you never really know what the right answers are as far as, parenting is concerned. Yeah, I was also learning on the go, but today we have so much access to information. We have so much access to knowledge about parenting online, etc., which doesn't really need to be followed to the T, but you can always get insights about it from that. And basically, my whole mantra when I became a father was that I'm going to try and be the best version of myself. I know I'm going to fall, at points. I know I'm going to feel defeated. I know I'm going to feel overwhelmed. I know it's going to be, but if I have made up my mind and if I'm enjoying this, if I like what I'm doing, and if I've taken this responsibility at a time where I was ready for it, then it's all going to be a joyride. Of course, the good, the bad, everything is going to be very, very fulfilling and very, very rejuvenating. And I feel parenting is the best thing that has happened to me. It makes me feel confident. It makes me feel like I have basically something to do, something to look forward to, and someone to love. For a single man, I think that is the answer to all the questions that come to your life from the time you're an adolescent. So I don't really see myself, seeking anything else as far as my family life is concerned right now. Never say never, but right now I think I couldn't have had it better. I hope that answers the question, unless I've missed out on something.
No. So the whole thing is really that, I felt as an adoptive parent, I would often second guess what I was doing. Am I feeding her too much, or am I feeding her too little, or all sorts of small things that you're constantly sort of second guessing. And also because we live. I
get that thought. Looking so loudly. I shouldn't have. Am I being too strict? Am I spoiling him too much? It's you never find yourself completely balanced. You always feel like you're going too much on this side or the other. But I think one thing I could have changed, and one thing I feel that I've learned, and I've really, I think maybe it came from my parents, because we grew up in atmospheres where one of the parents is strict.
Yeah.
But I've realized being strict is not the right thing, and I must have shouted at Laksh when he was younger a couple of times.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't have done that, because, at the end of the day, when you explain to them and you're patient with them, which is very difficult, eventually they do hear you out. Eventually they do listen to you, even though they might not listen to you at that point of time, but they are absorbing what you're saying. Yeah. So if I had to go back and change a few things, I would just change those things, that I shouldn't have shouted at him, even if at those 3 or 4 times or 5 times in his entire life so far.
No, there are points when, particularly when they are toddlers. How old is your son right now?
He's 5.5.
5.5. So when my daughter was about 3, my husband was posted in UK, and I had taken her there, and she was disoriented because, that was her first foreign travel. So she would say no to everything. Brush your teeth, no. Go and take your bath, no. Eat your food, no. Go to bed, no. So, and then one day she just stood like this and said, Shabna, no to everything. So you need to, at that point, you're like, okay, what should I do to make this little person understand that you have to brush your teeth?
We are human. We will overreact.
Yeah.
We can't expect. We're also human. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so that's when you sort of wonder, am I doing it right? Did my mom also go through this?
There's no absolutely right answer to this question. I think that's the lesson we all can learn.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Totally. Jugal, I'll ask you a question about your book. You were talking about the fantasy genre, and, you mentioned some of my favorite writers as well. Rowling is, of course, a huge favorite. I still remember my late husband, giving me the series, the books. And I told him, but these are meant for children. And he said, just read, and then by the second book, I was hooked. So are you thinking about maybe writing like a series based on these characters that you've created? Because there are some very nice friendships in that story between the 3 characters, the prince and his 2 commoner friends. They become good friends. And there's also just a hint of a romance, which was very sweet. And, all that. So are you thinking of, taking these characters forward, writing more stories revolving around them?
Yeah, thank you for the kind words, Nandini. And firstly, before I answer your question, for addressing to Tushar. It's really fascinating that he also is part of the same practice. I think I read about it somewhere, and it'd be lovely to chat with you about that sometime in the future. And back to you, Nandini. Well, I am actually in the middle of writing my book too, and I was very encouraged by the response from HarperCollins for this book, Coward and the Sword. And once I had passed it on to them, and they were we had signed the contract, and it obviously takes a little time by the time you do another proofread and the illustration. So at that time, again, the pandemic was still on. I was mostly free, so I thought of another story idea. I wanted to take this forward because apart from the readers, which I didn't know, now I know that they're enjoying the book very much. I myself had a lovely time, spending time with these characters, and I wanted to see them grow. So I am kind of working on a book too, and I have a germ of an idea for book 3 as well. And I did pass on the plot line to HarperCollins, and they seem very enthused about it. So it's underway, and I hope to. It's a slow process, but I hope to have it out maybe end of the year or early next year. And then maybe if things still go well, people still like it, I might embark on book 3.
So the book 2 would also have the same characters, or there'll be new
characters?
Yes,
same characters and some more as well, because as they grow and they go on another journey or another adventure or another, as they grow in life, basically more people come into your life, some good, some bad. So, there are lessons from all of them. So I am adding what I think are interesting characters, and I hope the readers enjoy them too.
Brilliant. At this point, I'd just like to remind and tell our audience, our listeners, that both these books are available at the Oxford Book. Please drop in, check out this lovely, lovely bookstore that is so much a part of Calcutta's heritage and so precious to all Calcuttans, whether we are in Calcutta or somewhere else. Do check it out and check out both the books, Bachelor Dad by Tusshar Kapoor and The Coward and the Sword by Jugal Hansraj. There's a question here from the audience. What are the challenges you are facing as a new dad, and what is that major shift that you have felt after becoming a dad? I'll open this to both of you. Maybe you can take the question one by one.
Jugal, you want to go first?
Okay, sure. Actually, I do want to read Tushar's book also, because honestly, when we got the happy news that the baby was on the way, I realized I hadn't really been around a lot of little children. I hadn't spent, of course, I had a few friends who had children, and you go to their homes, you pull their cheeks a little bit, play with them for 5 minutes, and that's about it. So, and no one else. I have cousins, but they're all away in the UK and stuff. So I really didn't spend time with little children. So when the baby arrived, I was completely at sea. I was completely reliant on my wife. And within a few weeks, I realized I need to step it up. I need to because I didn't know how to. I was feeling a bit. I'm a bit of clumsy guy, so I was scared to hold my baby because he was so tiny. I thought I'll drop him. But all these things slowly, it's a learning process, and one has to teach oneself. And definitely, as I said, I'm going to look forward to Tushar's book for some more insights. But I think I'm doing pretty okay. As again, I have gotten upset or shouted at my child very few times, but that really bothers me. I don't sleep the night when I do that. So I think it's just better to chat with them and talk to them. And it's I think as my son grows, so am I, along with him. He's probably learning some things from me and getting influenced by me. I'm getting influenced by him as well. I just like that he's such a positive and happy person. And that's taught me to be a little more positive and happy in spite of all that's going around. And, things are always constantly locked down and not locked down. But he's just been a constant positive source of energy for us. And there's lots to learn, even from, kids that age. And I just hope my only prayer is that I can be a good father and good friend to him as the years go on.
I keep telling my daughter, she's now 14. So, if I shout at her, she'll make that puppy face. So I said, no, that's not fair. I really, and she says, oh, That is my weapon. You shout at me, I'll make that face. That's it. For the next, 10 hours, I'll feel sad. Yeah, Tushar, over to you.
Yeah, just to continue on what you said, I think most of our parents have spanked us. At least my mom has spanked me if I've been a bit too naughty, and we all turned out fine. At least we think we turned out fine. But yeah, I wouldn't want to follow that at all for my son. But yes, coming back to the question of how I dealt with the new change in my life and what happened after that. See, for me, my journey was so unconventional because I decided to follow a path which had no precedent, at least as far as my knowledge is concerned, amongst the people that I move around with or in the fraternity that I belong to. So I had to do a lot of work. I had to introspect a lot within myself. I had to face my fears and make up my mind that is this what I want to do? And of course, I had the guidance of a single mom, Rutu Parekh, who in a way showed me how it's possible. And she has a daughter as a single parent, and she did the same things that I did. So I had their guidance, but I still had to really make up my mind. And there were lots of milestones of my own internally before, I really went ahead and did this. So by the time the baby came into my arms on the 1st of June, 2016, I had done a lot of my own homework. So I was prepared for what was in store for me. But there was one fear left. And I don't know why, I just felt like, okay, my life is going to come to an end in a sense. Will I have a life left in that regard? So I asked the doctor also who brought the baby home. I asked him that, will I be able to go out? I don't know why it was a very childish question, but I just asked him, will I be able to go out at all? Is it okay if I go out and come? He's saying that, it's fine. I mean, you'll want to bond with your son as much as you want, as much as possible. But yeah, it's your life and you can still live your life. That doesn't really have to end in that sense. And I knew, the question had no meaning, but it just came out of some sort of insecurity. But thereafter, everything else it just flew by and it just fell into place naturally. And I automatically figured out what needs to be done when, and maybe because I was ready to be very, very hands-on with my son. So I was there for every milestone, and I was prepared before even the milestone was going to come. So it wasn't like a chore for me at all. It was more like, okay, this is my new life and this is what I wanted. And I found time to do more stuff on my own also. I started going out more. Somehow I think, you just become so organized that you find more time for yourself also. So it really was probably God's gift, like it is to any parent. It was like God's gift to me also.
It's funny because I became a parent because I'm an adoptive parent. I became a parent a bit late, very late actually. I became a parent when I was 40. And so now my daughter keeps saying, oh. So my daughter keeps saying, oh, you became a parent late so that you could have all your fun before I came along. So I was never part of all the places that you went to before I came along. Why am I not in this picture? Why did you go off and see Taj Mahal and I was not there in the picture? So she's like, you guys had fun and then you decided to bring me along. So it's just like
but it's better to have had your fun, because then you're ready to take on the responsibility. Otherwise, acting at 5 or at 32, I would have been too immature to be doing all the daddy duties. It would have not been the same. I think you have to be very, very sure of yourself, and it just has to happen at the right time. So I think that doesn't matter whether you're 30 or 40. You need to know what the right time for you is. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so one more question has popped up. Do you feel like you are doing enough for your own child? Like you see someone's parenting and you go like, that's how it should be done, and what I'm doing is not enough. That's what you feel sometimes, Tushar? Like no, I can say that I do. I often do that. I feel that, oh my God, I'm not that super mom. I'm terrible in the kitchen. I cannot, bake the perfect cake. Hell, I can't bake any cake. So I sort of doubt just how good I am,
Yeah, I doubt myself at times, but I never compare myself to anybody and say, oh, they are doing too much, or I really am not interested in knowing which classes the other kids are going to. I mean, I'll chat with my friends and etc., but I am not curious about competing, because a lot of moms, I find they want to know more about what you are doing rather than what their own child is doing. I mean, there are lots of great moms also, but there are lots of very, very inquisitive moms. So in that regard, I'm very secure, and thankfully I'm not curious about others. But yeah, of course, I have my bad days where I feel like I'm probably not up to the mark as a parent, but that's normal. Yeah.
Jugal, your comments on this?
I would actually second Tushar on that, because same here, I have some moments where I feel, maybe I can be a better dad, or I sometimes pray that I'm a better dad. But yeah, I think the main thing is to be true and honest, and just whatever love you can give your child, I think that's all your child needs. And I think everything else sorts itself out. I'm lucky that I have my beautiful wife, Jasmine, who's someone I always turn to, because she always has an answer, when it comes to our son, and she's more kind of tuned in, I think, as to what to do. I'm a bit on the emotional side, so I get like shaken up easy if he's sick or something like that. But then thankfully my wife is, the most strong, stoic kind of presence in both my son's life and my life. But I think, yeah, sometimes we all have the doubts, as you also said, Nandini, but I think at the end of the day, seeing what other people are doing, and that will never end. That's an unending kind of, it just leads you down a path of, you're never satisfied, and you never think you're going to do the best. But the main thing is to enjoy each happy moment. And every day, where even if you're just sitting at home, every day will throw up many moments, and it's best to seize them and enjoy them, because once that moment passes, it's never going to come again. So the thing is, just enjoy the process, enjoy being a dad, even when they're naughty, even when they're making a mess, it's fine, because I'm sure we did the same. And it's just, I think love is the answer to that. Just like shower your child with love, and everything else will take care of itself.
So I have to ask you this question. Both of you.
I just put on the lights. Getting a bit dark here. I just put on the lights.
Yeah, sure. So, both of you have had, very successful careers in showbiz. How difficult is it, or easy, as the case may be? Because earlier, of course, we didn't have social media and all that. So that's this pervasive gaze on every aspect of your life. If you are a public person, was not there. But the world that our children are growing up in is far less inhibited when it comes to sharing details of personal life. Everybody goes to a restaurant, takes a picture of the food, and it's on Instagram or whatever. So this kind of world where you don't really know where privacy ends and where public life begins, and you being public people, I mean, both of you have careers in showbiz, which is about as public as it can get. How much of a challenge is that?
Jugal, you want to start that? Yeah.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, it is definitely challenging, but I haven't been much in the public eye for the last few years. I'm more behind the scenes. But yeah, I understand what you're talking about. It's personal choice, actually. Social media and everything is all about your personality and personal choice. Like I'm generally a little shy and introvertish. I only got into Instagram like a couple of years ago, because my wife and some other friends encouraged me, because there were some like fake accounts and, some, bad pictures and stuff like that going around. So I said, let me just set the record, say I'm fine. This is how I look, and this is like, I'm doing okay. So to kind of quash all the negative stories. But personally, I'm a bit shy, and that's why I don't like, and more shy when it comes to my child. So I don't like to post stuff about him specifically, but to each his own. Like there's nothing wrong in it, I suppose. But I don't do it because I have had a lot of limelight on me as a child. And some of that kind of, I feel that's not the right age for him. When he's 18 and, when he's older, he can decide himself.
Were you uncomfortable when you were getting that limelight as a child?
I wasn't uncomfortable, but honestly, I don't remember any moment in my life where people have not looked at me and recognized me since I was a child. Because I started doing ads since the age of 2. So even before Masoom, there were a couple of like very popular ad campaigns. So I've always been looked at, and I used to go to school and then go to my gymkhana and the trains and buses and like any normal Bombay kid. And I've always been I mean, obviously, it's not like people rush to me. I don't need bodyguards and stuff like that, but people recognize me. They always know you. So I just feel, I don't want not that my son is not in the limelight, but it's just a subconscious thing of not putting him, not that people are going to, because he's not in a movie or something. Even if I put a photo or two of something of his on social media, it won't be a problem, but it's a mental block I have rather than anything else. And I generally tend to post more about what I'm doing on the work front, a little bit about my personal life, not too much. But as I said, to each his own. Some people are a little extrovertish, and I think it's great that they can share, because a lot of people in the movie business are looked up to by the people, and if they share something and people want to know more about them, I think it's fantastic. It's a great medium for that. And
Tushar?
Over to Tushar now.
Yeah, same here. I second that. I also believe that it's each to his own, because marketing is not really my forte either. I don't know really how to, get myself out there completely, because maybe I'm also kind of an ambivert. I'm not too much of an extrovert either. I'm a complete introvert. I'm somewhere in between. And I am active on social media, but I post as much as I feel comfortable doing. And there are phases when there is a film releasing and then I go a little all out, and then sadly I feel bad about it, but suddenly there's like a slump and I don't post anything because I don't have anything to post, and I can't create something unnecessarily. And I don't blame people who do that. I don't say it's wrong, because in fact I feel like it's quite an art to create some kind of a post out of nothing at all and just sitting at home and entertaining people through social media, and it works for them and they have millions of followers, and so be it. So and personally I don't feel that it really gets you any further as far as your career is concerned. I don't think there's too much of a correlation. You can have 50 million followers and you still might not reach your goals as a film personality. I mean, they're two different ball games. So one mustn't feel too bogged down by the whole social media pressure also, because a lot of it's very useful if used well. It's great. We're talking to each other because of social media, but a lot of it is bullshit also. So it can really play on your mind. The toxicity can really play on your mind, which needs to be avoided. So as far as my son is concerned, with him also, as much as I feel comfortable, I post. Like in the first lockdown, there were so many things I did post with him, doing some of the school activities or whether they were experiments, because it was just conducive to doing it at that point of time, and I had fun doing it, and I just wanted to be creative in the lockdown, and he had fun doing it, so we both were happy, so we did it. And then now suddenly there's nothing about, I haven't posted anything, but time and again I do. Of course, Bachelor Dad, the cover picture of the book, I had to post it. So there's some things you can't avoid, and it's okay. It's not, it's normal. He has to know that, he's going to be clicked and looked at in some way or the other. And whether or not it comes, it's fine. It doesn't come also, it's fine.
So he's comfortable because you have also gone through it at some level, and therefore you know what to do.
Yes.
Okay, we are going to end with this last question. Does your busy schedule have a barrier to give more quality time to your children? Tushar?
So far, I haven't really suffered on that count. Thankfully, when he was a baby, the first film that I went to shoot, first film that I shot for was, as far as the outdoor shooting is concerned, I took him along because he was a baby.
You mentioned that in the book.
Yes. And then I shot something in 2019 also, for which I couldn't be there all the time. So he was feeling a little edgy when I wasn't around, but I made up for it. So you can always come back to your child and catch up on all the lost time.
Yeah.
So I think it worked out for us eventually, because I think children understand that you really want to be there, or in a sense that you're not trying to be there, or you really can't be there. This is the distinction between the two, and they know when you're like stuck somewhere, or whether you are busy and you can't be there, rather than you're not trying to be there at all. So it's something that my son will have to get used to in the future also. If there are going to be outdoor shoots and I can't have him miss school, he'll have to understand that he'll feel bad, and there will be some loss. But I guess that's also growing up. That's also part of understanding that everything can't be perfect, and one has to work around things and, toughen up to things. And eventually Papa will be back, and Papa loves you. And as if he knows that, I'm sure he won't even have a bad day. So fingers crossed. I mean, things work out in that regard.
Yeah. Well, in that, to that extent, I think in every profession, I mean, if you weren't an actor, if you were, for instance, an official working in a car company, or you're a professional, a lawyer or something, you would also have those same kind of constraints. Try and balance how much time you can take out of your career and spend with family and all this. So I suppose that is not something that.
Yes, it's also something I've mentioned in the book, that just because I'm a single parent doesn't mean I've had it harder or tougher or more challenging than couples who are parents, because everyone has their own challenges, and every family is different. If you are a hands-on parent, no matter how your family structure is, it's going to be challenging to be there for the child, for every PTA meeting, for every sports day, for all the times when he or she needs you. And especially sometimes, you have the man or the family is working most of the time. So the mother is more like a single parent only in that regard. Yeah. Sometimes both parents are working, so they both find it challenging to make time for the son. So everybody has their own issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Jugal, I had told you that I'm going to ask you this question, and I cannot let you go without asking this. This is about the lovely, lovely film that you made, Roadside Romeo. Such a beautiful film. Just
Thank you.
Very quickly, we don't have too much time. If you can very quickly tell us a little bit about what was the creative trigger. How did you think of making this film? How did you go about writing it? It was such a sweet film about dogs. I loved it.
Thank you, Nandini. Thank you so much for the kind words. That, in fact, was also, apart from directing, it was my first foray into writing professionally. I am, apart from the fantasy fiction genre, which I love, I also love the animation genre. I've kind of seen all the animation movies from all the languages that I could get a hold of. And I think the producers of that film kind of knew of that side of me, that I really kind of gobble up all the animation content I can. I also read books on how animation films were made. And my thinking generally, as you've seen, this is my second book for children, kind of veers towards that age group. So when the producers were tying up with Walt Disney and they wanted to seek options for making an animation film, they asked me if I have any ideas. And I did, in fact. Within a month, I came up with 2 ideas of 10 pages. This idea for Roadside Romeo came about to me at a traffic signal in Mumbai when I was driving, and I was stuck in the traffic for a while, and there was there's little piles of garbage on the side, and there were a lot of these street dogs playing around happily, like without a care in the world, without understanding the environment they are in, which is not the best environment, but they were just so happy. And I thought, that those are my characters. And Mumbai is the setting. I think that's so very fascinating kind of setting for a movie about street dogs. And then, of course, we went on to make a whole. We decided to go into the whole spoof kind of genre of Indian films that we have grown up watching and loving. Yeah. So we had a villain and a hero and heroine and songs and everything. It was a great fun ride. I remember working hard for it for about 2.5 years. The whole entire process took. And didn't take Sundays off, didn't leave town. I never left Mumbai for 2.5 years because I was needed every day. But it was a wonderful, wonderful process. I have some great memories and met some great people in the crew, all mostly animators. And it's something I'll cherish, definitely.
That is lovely. I hope you make more films like that.
Thank you.
I, for one, would love to watch more animation content from you. We've totally run out of time. Thank you again. Thank you, Tusshar. Thank you, Jugal, for a lovely discussion. Big thank you to Oxford Bookstore and Apeejay Kolkata Lit Fest. I hope, friends, you do go out and buy these books. Very interesting books of 2 very, very interesting Bollywood dads. Namaskar and good evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tusshar. Lovely to see you.
Bye, Nandini.
I look forward to reading your book.
Bye.
Same here. I'm going to read The Coward and the Sword very soon.